I was sitting at the bar with my friend eating dinner earlier this month. Vibe was Mexican. There was this bartender. He was fully sleeve, full neck tattoo. I assumed he was just like one giant tattoo, which is literally my type. My type is tattoos. So he comes up to us and he's taking our food order, and I'm not a big beans girl. I'm pretty sure he meant black or pinto, but I couldn't fully understand what he was saying. I also couldn't fully hear him. One thing about me is I have horrible hearing. I've literally been to the doctor and they're like, you have hearing loss. Why? And I'm like, I don't know.
Nobody cares, Sean. Nobody cares.
I'm gonna stop you right there, Ruth. The vibe wasn't Mexican. You were at a Mexican restaurant with the intention of purchasing and consuming overpriced Mexican food. Vibes have nothing to do with it. Actually, now that I think about it, what in the hell is a vibe anyways? Ruth, your obsession with this fake spiritualistic bull hockey is getting out of hand. Everything is a vibe or involves some form of energy, and whether or not Uranus is in retrograde thanks to the food poisoning you got from the fully tattooed bartender that turned you on. And despite that everything is made up of vibes, energy, and your incapability to tell a compelling story, you have yet to, one time, even come close to providing a definition for any of these things. And much like your hearing loss, you won't be able to provide anything of that sort. Luckily, I can do both. Your spiritualism is your vain attempt at pretending you have a personality, and your hearing loss is due to you making an ass out of yourself by refusing to wear ear protection while you drunkenly go out to clubs and live music events, which just shows a lack of common sense on both accounts.
I don't think he said black or pinto. He called one of the beans something else. Someone help me out here. I wasn't understanding. I wasn't hearing. I probably had like a very confused look on my face, and he goes, you'll have both. What? And that is the best interaction I've had with a man this month. It was about beans. And he was doing his job, and I was a paying customer. So yeah, I'm sure me being off the dating apps is gonna go really, really, really extraordinarily well for me. But to be fair, when we did left, he said, bye nerds. And I'm telling you, this happened in the beginning of the month and I'm still thinking about it. Should I leave the house more? Let me know.
Man, you are one pathetic loser. No offense.
Ruth, what I'm about to say comes from the purest of intentions. It really doesn't matter if you're on the dating apps or not. There is no hope for you. That incident wasn't between you and a man, and it wasn't about beans. This was a bartender who was clearly busy and didn't have time for you to figure out what kind of beans he was talking about, especially when you take into account that those are menu items that are clearly printed on a menu and can be read regardless of your hearing loss. So either you weren't reading the menu or you don't know how to read. And in this day and age, either one seems tragically plausible. It's clear to me that regardless of whether or not this man was your type, you clearly weren't his. Now, I don't know this guy, and odds are I'll probably never meet him, but if I had to venture a guess in the dark, I'd say that this guy's type is a woman with dignity, and you don't fit that particular bill, Ruth. You're so far down the social media rabbit hole that you're at the point where your inability to choose between a side dish at a restaurant constitutes as an update to your lack of a dating life.
You're boring! You're fucking dull! You have nothing to say! You are a one-hived mind twat waffle!
Women lose interest in sex the longer the relationship goes on. Hearing this all the time. A lot of comments on my videos say this, like, well, women are only into it at the beginning and then they lose interest. But what if it's actually that men become less sexually appealing over time? What if it's because the man is treating them like shit? The man has put no effort into creating emotional intimacy. What if it is that the man is wanting to just live like a frat boy and expect the wife to do everything for him?
Hey, what if my nose falls off and I can't smell? What if my pants fall off and everybody's looking at my wiener?
Oh man, I love this game. Let me take a crack at it. What if the woman only married the man because she couldn't be with the 4 or 5 chads she banged back in college? What if she resents this man for not wasting money on trips to Europe? What if she blames her husband for ruining her life with kids she never wanted? What if, after marriage, she lets herself go, gains 80 pounds, and refuses to be attractive after sinking her claws into her husband? What if the woman goes full-on psycho and drives her husband to the point of insanity just so she can clean him out in a no-fault divorce? What if that man tries his hardest to make his wife happy, but she refuses to recognize and reciprocate and still blames him for not doing enough? What if she secretly resents him for not buying the right kind of laundry soap? What if that woman downloads dating apps behind the man's back? What if the wife openly shames her husband on social media in exchange for internet clout? It's almost as if both sides can be bastards, woman.
What if it's the man is gaslighting, giving the silent treatment, stonewalling, not willing to go to therapy or work on himself in any way, but still wants the sex that they had at the beginning when he was romantic, when he was putting in effort? What if it is that when women are walking on eggshells all the time, that's not a turn on? What if it's that when women are never knowing who's going to walk in the door and what mood you're going to be in, that's not a turn on? What if men become less sexually appealing when they refuse to take accountability for their actions and they're blaming you for everything? What if it's actually that?
I must have missed 60 minutes. What are you saying?
You know what else isn't a turn on, sister? When you avoid taking accountability for your failed marriages at the age of 50 by placing all of the blame on your ex-husband and avoiding taking any form of responsibility by accusing your ex of doing the exact same thing that you're guilty of. If you ask men who suffered from the financial con job known as the bureaucratic institution of marriage, you'll hear a lot of horror stories of men who actually did put in some form of effort to try to make the marriage work. They tried to be more romantic, more respectful, and whatever other new age bull hockey you want to talk about, and guess what he was met with? Stonewalling, gaslighting, and most importantly, a lack of reciprocation. If a man puts in the time and energy it takes to try and keep the spark alive in a marriage, and it's either not recognized or reciprocated, then that man will just give up because he'd rather stay the course and do nothing as opposed to put in all sorts of time and effort into something that you clearly won't appreciate. So, what if, and I'm just spitballing here, instead of accusing your husband of the very things you're clearly doing to him, you stop pretending that you're a victim and just shut your mouth?
Anything less would be uncivilized.
The next boyfriend I have, I think I want him to be my husband, but this is never going to happen if I keep doing this thing that I do. Like, it's just so bad, right? Every time I go away somewhere, like, I've been packing my suitcase for 3 hours, I'm not even kidding, because I'm going to Portugal tomorrow. I booked it super last minute, right? And I've been sat in my bed for 3 hours on my phone, and I just have avoided closing my suitcase because all I've been doing is like going on my phone and then I go on Instagram, especially when I'm going to a new place, and I find a boy that's from the place that I'm going. So like, I literally go on my Instagram and I type in like Portugal, and I try and find boys that are like, maybe, I don't know, following me, or I don't know, seem interesting, and I message them and I'm like, oh, like, you're from Portugal, I'm going to Portugal, and I do it all the time, and I don't know why I do it, because all it ends up in is either like me forgetting about him or him forgetting about me. Either way, like, someone forgets about like the other person, and it never ends up any other way than that. Like, truly, I'm never going to find my husband like this. I'm just going to keep having pointless boyfriends who I don't care about them, and they don't care about me.
I can see down your shirt.
Well, sister, as a certified intergalactic space gent, allow me to put your insecurities to rest. You're an online avenue stroller who talks like she's a caffeine-addled meth head. Not exactly what I'd call wifey material. And any man you reach out to in Portugal or Purgatory or wherever won't be interested in meeting with you. Because I am rather certain he is too busy watching Icebreaker, one of the best movies around. Just imagine a pre-Lord of the Rings Sean Astin who's clearly regretting his life decisions while being uncomfortably hit on by an average-looking chick, all while a cleanly head-shaven Bruce Campbell goes into a scenery-chewing contest with Stacy Keach, who gives one of the greatest line reads ever committed to the art of film.
No, I spent the night here. I had a delightful evening in a one-bedroom timeshare.
It's the kind of Die Hard at a ski resort movie where Sean Astin has to take a snack break before trying to rescue a bunch of hostages and is constantly being upstaged by literally everybody else on screen. And even though all of the actors on this movie know what they signed up for, Sean Astin was the only one to actively lose his dignity, while every other star in this movie preserved theirs. And if you ask me, he's the only schmuck that deserved it.
Hi, ladies. Okay, so I just started dating. I'm in my 50s. I've been going out with the same guy for 10 years. We just broke up 3 months ago, and he's moved on, so I thought, well, maybe I should start dating. So I thought that I'd tell you about my funny date tonight. And it's my first one, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more, so here it goes. Meet a nice guy. He shows up. Not in the best shape, but you know what? That's okay. Now, I'm in my mid-50s, and I don't expect a whole lot anymore, and he's a good-looking guy, and he's an attorney, and So I was like, yeah, okay, this is good. So I was actually happy too that he invited me for not just a drink, but he actually said we could get a bite to eat. And so we just met at a brewery and ordered something, and he had said, okay, well, I'm going to put this on my company. I'm an attorney, but we have to talk for like 15 minutes so that my company pays for it. Haha.
Good for you, man. Good for you. Good for you.
Oh man, you can tell that she's a little bit perturbed by this situation. She thought she was gonna have a rich, handsome man buy her dinner, only for him to play the Uno reverse card and use her for a free meal by writing it off as a business expense. And I have to admit, that's a pretty smart play. You see, it's only going to be bothering her in retrospect that this guy didn't pay for the meal out of his own pocket. She's still getting a free meal, but it won't be until afterwards when she's nitpicking this guy for everything that she will be offended that he used his employer to get a free quality dinner at a local brew house. And that's because this man is expected to show up, pay for the food, listen to her prattle about nothing, pay for the check, and go home with nothing to show for it. That's about as traditional as it gets for the modern woman, so it's kind of fun to see a self-respecting man come up with clever ways to make the reversal. Makes a man feel good.
And I said, yeah, that's okay. I'd like to hear about what you do. Personal injury attorney, funny, good stories. 40 minutes later, he's like, okay, so, are you on a lot of the apps? And I'm like, nope, I'm just on this one. And he goes, well, I'm like on 4. In fact, I'm on Tinder, and I've never actually dated anybody on Tinder. Isn't that weird? I go, yeah, really weird. And he's like, so you're not on any other ones? Why not? And I said, I just, in fact, I just got on this one this weekend. And he's like, he goes, yeah, well, I'm dating this other person right now. And, I don't know. She seems like she might be like a hardcore Trump person. And all of a sudden she started talking about like the pronouns, like he, she, they. I don't know. I can just kind of see this down the line, like maybe us having more debates, and I'm not really sure if she's going to turn into one of those crazy people. And
Right on, brother, I hear you. Man, I hear you.
If there's one thing we know about these apps is that if you're a guy who's on multiple apps and you're going on multiple dates with multiple women, then you're clearly looking for one thing, and it's not a relationship with a 50-year-old chick who is about as exciting as a 36-hour tax seminar. This is a guy who's clearly single and looking to do some mingling of the stank variety. Now, if he hasn't gotten any play on Tinder, that's to be expected. Tinder is mostly bots, con artists, and desperate women who need a baby before their last egg abandons all hope. But if he's mentioning never being able to get a date on Tinder, my best guess is that he's been carrying on the conversation all night and is trying to talk to you, but you're giving him nothing. So what do you expect him to do? You make it sound like you didn't even want to go out with this guy in the first place, and at least he's trying to get some form of a conversation going, but you strike me as the kind of woman who couldn't even talk to a brick wall without screwing it up.
I thought to myself, and I said, excuse me, can I interrupt you for a minute? He goes, yeah. And I said, I have limited time. I actually have to go. I said, I've just spent 40 minutes hearing about your work, and that's okay. I said, but now you're actually talking about other people that you're dating. And he goes, well, let me interrupt you. I'm not dating her. I mean, I just went out a few times. We're not exclusive. And I said, I know, but I thought the whole point of meeting someone for the first time was to get to know each other and to ask each other questions. I go, I'm pretty sure we could leave from this date and you won't have remembered one thing that I talked about myself, because I don't even think you asked me anything. I said, but that's okay. I just really don't think when you go out on a first date, you should be talking about other people that you're dating. I said, but anyways, it was really nice meeting you, and I gotta go.
Well, bye.
Sister, I can guarantee you he has already forgotten about you. It's obvious that you were contributing next to nothing in regards to that conversation. And this is why men don't want to date anymore. It's a pain in the ass to know that a woman won't actually make a conversation interesting. She will then blame the man for not making the conversation about her. And if he's not asking questions, it's either because he's uninterested in anything serious or because you're boring and there's nothing worth asking. A conversation is a two-way street, woman. At any point, you could have changed the subject to talk about the stuff that you're interested in and to give him an impression of who you are, but you clearly didn't do that. And if you're not doing your part to keep the conversation going, then you're putting all of the responsibility on the man for making that date intellectually stimulating, and that's unfair. Namely because you're not an intellectual, and he's clearly uninterested in a crusted out old broad who's more makeup than flesh and bone. And that's gonna do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of comedy is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button. Ring the notification bell and leave a couple of comments. Make sure to share this video while you're at it so we can give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for checking out the new video, and until next time, peace out, homies.